Welcome back to the Practice Pulse, where we break down the systems, strategies, and real world execution behind the people and practices shaping the future of healthcare. This show is all about growth, operational clarity, and building scalable systems that allow you to expand while retaining the human touch. Today's conversation is a very interesting one. I'm joined by Amita Basra, founder of Kreem Shakti, an Ayurvedic practice rooted in a 5,000-year-old system of medicine that's focused on individualized healing and long term wellness. What makes Amita's story especially compelling is that she spent nearly 2 decades in a traditional medicine system as a registered nurse before stepping into a completely different model of care after her own personal health journey shifted her perspective. Now she's helping clients address health at the rooted level rather than just managing symptoms. This conversation is especially relevant right now as more patients are actively seeking personalized preventative approaches to their health. Amita, I'm really excited to have you on today. So let's start off. You spent 17 years in traditional medicine. What was the moment that made you realize something was missing?
Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for
Yeah.
having me and for that beautiful introduction. I noticed while working in healthcare in the Western model that there's a lot of people that are falling through the cracks. And what I mean is that you all of a sudden have someone at home who's maybe just having some fatigue and then they're in the hospital with a heart attack. Right. And there was no blood pressure change or any blood levels that even that could have been caught that it just kind of all of a sudden escalated. So there's this whole huge gap that we have right now from preventative care and into the actual emergency care.
Hmm.
And then we also have issues where we just don't have enough physicians to go around. They don't have enough time. And so, therefore, we're dealing with basically provider fatigue and overload.
Hmm.
And having system managements like this would be able to supplement and also bring in additional knowledge for where we could be able to give more comprehensive and cohesive care. Like my business model is very much around interactive, integrative of a Western and Eastern model where we really are helping each other get the best care for every person. Um, then the more deeper answer to that would be then I have my personal journey that brought me here through
Yeah.
Ayurveda, which I'm sure you're going to touch on that in other questions.
No, dive into it now. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
your
sure.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I learned about Ayurveda, actually, even though it's in my roots and it's things that my grandparents, like, well, especially my grandmother, might mention here and there, I didn't know there was an actual science behind it all. So it wasn't until I was in my own recovery journey, and I actually ended up having a substance use disorder. And so what I was like working in the medical field, I didn't even realize that I had it. It's kind of interesting that we never actually get a lot of training on mental health. And I apologize about that. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Mental health as well as substance use disorder. So I didn't even really realize what I had and how to even treat addiction until I went to rehab. But when I went into rehab, they gave you a lot of medicines. They give you a lot of psych medicines. And it was about a month and a half into my sobriety at that time that I was had a dream actually. And in this dream, and it's really interesting because I don't remember most of my dreams, but this dream, there was this fancy dinner party going around and people were talking about this term Ayurveda. And I'm like, what is this? And this lady takes me in this beautiful gown, like out into the backyard where there's a stream and she tells me what it is. So I immediately wake up and I'm like searching on the internet because I'm like, what is this? And I'm looking about it and I found the three top schools in the nation. I was like reading about them. And what do you know? One of them's near me. So I did an application. I went back to sleep. And then the next day when I woke up, they're like, would you like to come in? And at that time, I was taking a break from my life, to kind of understand how to navigate
Right.
this new diagnosis, understand how to kind of pull myself back together. And I was like, sure. And I signed up actually just for myself to learn because I was having so many side effects from all the medicines I were on. I was having heart palpitations. I couldn't stop eating. It
Wow.
was like sleep was weird. And then what happened is I went to the first level course. I'm actually now in the last level course, which is equivalent to a doctorate degree.
Wow.
But I was in the first level course at that time and I got better really quickly, actually. I was able to come off these medications. My friends and family started noticing how I was doing and how much better I felt. So I started teaching them. And then from
Nice.
there, I started teaching patients at the bedside. And then it was when patients at the bedside were like, "Hey, can we come see you?" And I was like, "What do you mean come see me?" And they're like, "You have a practice, don't you?" And I was like, "No." And that's basically how Cream Shakti born. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is true organic growth. Very
Yes,
much so. Yeah.
very much so.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I mean, I see a lot more practitioners that are starting to question the system, but very few actually pivot like you did. So yeah, so you really saw that gap in where
Yes.
Western medicine wasn't filling it, and so you stepped in to fill that gap, which is those are the most fascinating and most effective like birth stories of practices that I've seen. So thank you so much for sharing that and telling us a little bit about your personal journey. So let's ground this a little for people who may not be familiar with it yet. So for someone who's new to Ayurveda, what problem are you actually solving for clients and what does that look like?
So ultimately, let's say the logical or realistic or down to earth reason is that we are creating balance in your mind, body, and spirit so that you're able to live your life. So when the body is unhealthy or been pulled out of it, dis-ease in the body is actually an imbalance that's happening. The way Ayurveda works is through elements. So we're bringing those elements into alignment in all the different bodily tissues, making sure that energy channels are clean. And then that helps anchor the mind, which then allows for spiritual growth. The way I like to say, which is a little bit more of the magical way, is that it's really very much a journey back to the self. So it is in Ayurveda, healthy is called swastha. And that literally means to be established in self. So that's the way I like to say it is it's your journey to yourself. And that's how it helps people because when you're back with yourself, when you can be truly who you are, which we all have a divine right to be who we are, when
Mhm.
you can do that, then you can live life from a place of joy. And when we are in a place of joy, then we can kind of rotate our dreams. We have
Right.
energy, we have vitality, we feel vigorous. It's just, yeah, there's a lot that comes with that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's great. So, because ultimately people are coming to you after trying other solutions and taking that holistic approach can really help them pull areas of their life together that can shift. And I mean, more and more evidence is coming out to we know that mental, emotional issues show up physically in our bodies. So there is a connection. And so to be able to go in there and help create that balance, it's awesome. So what makes your approach at Cream Shakti different than other paths that your clients have already tried?
So again, there's that integrative approach. So I'm bringing in the knowledge of knowing. So if people are, sometimes people come to me who are in Western healthcare and some are not, but some people have quite complex care and they have certain doctors and different labs and results and scans. So I can understand those. I'm used to being able to read those reports. I also understand a lot about the pharmacology of the different medicines. And then also I know what the ultimate goal of the doctor is, which is actually a really key point to know. The second thing is that I bring my nursing care. You can't take the nurse out of somebody.
Yeah.
And that bedside manner comes with me and being able to translate even what they're dealing with on Western healthcare paperwork to them
Hmm.
is something that I also offer. But then what I'm bringing in is now I'm bringing in a way that people can take the reins back, right? They can bring control onto their life. So I'm giving them daily, what we call dinacharya, which is daily care that they can do that is conducive to them, to their disease that's in their body, teaching them about different herbs and how they're working in their body, why they're taking them, have them understand what kind of fruits and vegetables to eat. Because, yeah, okay, we all know fruits and vegetables are good for you. But that doesn't mean everybody needs to be eating the same fruit and vegetables.
Right.
Some need to be cooked a certain way. Some need different spices. Some need certain oils. It depends on the person and what's going on for them. And is bringing people to that place where they get really balanced with me so that when they do pull themselves out, because this is a life, right? So we are always going to get pulled out of balance. Hunger and thirst is actually technically an imbalance. So there's that, then there's stressful periods in your life, or maybe you just want to go out and have fun and you want to stay up all night. It just depends on
Right.
what you're doing. You're a human being. You're here to enjoy as well. And so how can you understand when is it okay to pull yourself out of balance and when's not to? Something that I really offer is allowing people to understand where that's at and then how certain what we call nidhanas or causes can pull you back out of balance and how that feels in the body. And then taking that knowledge to bring walk yourself back. Like I said, the journey back to self.
Right. That's great. That's a powerful you have a powerful combination there with your Western medicine knowledge and now bringing in all of these other aspects to really create it's a beyond holistic approach. So that's awesome. Um,
Thank you,
it's
Nancy.
very exciting. So tell me a little bit about the patient journey for you. Like, what does it look like when someone comes to you? Um, what's that process look like from start to kind of maintenance?
Sure. So the way that people come to me is usually through a discovery call, and whether that comes through social media or website or Google search, it just depends. Most of the time, it's through Google search, and I'm guessing SEO has a little bit to do with that, but some of it's also organic search,
Okay.
and then I have word of mouth. Right. So those are the ways that people sign up. Then they book a call with me and I talk to them. I explain very much similar things to what we're talking about here. If people haven't heard, some people have actually, I get half and half. Some people have heard of Ayurveda, they're really into it. And then the other half are like, I have no idea what it is that you do, but I've heard that you're really great to work with, or I read about it online and now I'm curious, or I watched some show, or maybe they heard a podcast, right?
Mhm.
And so I'll talk to them, get to know what's going on, and then I'll tell them how it is that I could help them. And I usually work with people for 3 to 4 months at least minimum, and they have to come in every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. And then sometimes people stay on longer depending on the chronicity of it, but they'll come meet with me. Then usually they'll book an appointment after that, and then we will, if it's a good match, and then we will end up doing an hour and a half intake where we really comb through the details of their life, how the symptomology had started, how it might have changed, what makes it better, what makes it worse, and then what they do on a daily basis and what they're intaking. We start with a little bit of different few suggestions that they can do, and we start an herbal formulation right away that's really going to help ignite the digestive fire because in Ayurveda, the gut is the first brain. So
Mm.
we need that working effectively, and also so that we can kind of clear out any stagnation that could be there. And we have very technical terms, which I will teach people in consultation, but in the interest of the podcast, I won't go there.
Yeah.
But people are more than welcome to, give me a call and ask about these deeper concepts. But that's the way it will start. And then we continuously build upon that plan. And my goal is to educate people. It's not about people always having a needing to come back and see me. I want them to be, like I said, pull themselves back into balance, understand when they're walking too far away from themselves, where that dis-ease is feeling in their body that it's building, and so that they don't have to come back. And also the really beautiful thing about Ayurveda is that not only are we correcting that imbalance, but we're actually rejuvenating them so that that inherent weakness in the body doesn't come back.
Right.
And that's one thing no other modality that I have yet to encounter
Right.
has. And that is the beautiful feeling about it.
That is wonderful. So, what kinds of symptoms would someone be experiencing that would come to you for help?
Sure. So I have people through a gamut of different things. Sometimes people come to me just because they have really undiagnosed symptoms like heart palpitations, fatigue, dizziness. Some people will come with full on diagnosis of autoimmune disorders, digestive issues. I get a lot of skin conditions, which are actually quite complex. 'Cause skin is one of the
Yeah.
most complex things, actually, because it's every system touches it. Then I have quite a few people who come through for mental health, manas, the mind balance. And then there's people who are just generally curious on how to gracefully age and create more energy in their day to make it so that they feel like that they're not pouring from an empty cup.
It's
And
important.
that's really, yeah, it's so important, right? Today.
Yeah, it is.
Is well.
Can you give
Yeah.
us an example of like a specific, I mean, without names or anything, but a specific instance of like how someone grew through your program or were able to overcome something through your program?
Yeah, I actually had a client who had an autoimmune disease that she had been recently diagnosed with. And what happened is when they didn't do the testing at the time, her symptomology was enough to make the diagnosis. And I started working with her shortly after. And about 9 months in, she went to go do like the actually diagnostic testing for this autoimmune disease. And when she went to go do the testing, she actually was being negative
Oh,
for
nice.
for her, yeah. And she was like, "Oh, wait, I don't have it, but I guess that's good." And but so it's kind of like this whole just so you could see her face, but at the
Yeah.
same time, her doctor was like, "So what have you been doing?" And she's like, "Well, I've been seeing this Indian woman. She gives me herbs and tells me what to eat." And he's like, "Keep doing that."
You just keep doing that. Yeah.
Exactly, yes. Uh,
It makes you
that's
sound
one of
so mystical, like,
I know, right? I
gives
do,
me
and it makes
herbs
me
and tells
feel
me
I
what to
feel
eat.
mystical. I know. It's like and it is a joy to hear these people, and it's a joy to see people transform. Everybody is a little bit different, and everyone's touched my heart in a very unique way, but people really become into who they are and can shine in this very bright way, and you hear stories of how that affects their family and then
Yeah.
their community, and I just feel so blessed to be able to work in this way because I know once I help one person, that's going to cascade out into that person's entire life.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, what a beautiful story and powerful, powerful story. So let's shift and talk a little bit about the business side of what you're building, because that's where a lot of practitioners struggle. So, how have you structured your practice to stay personalized while still being able to scale and grow?
That is the $1,000,000 question. Because there's only one of me. I used to do everything. And now I've had to bring on some people who can do backend admin work, who can upkeep my website. I do all my script writing, but I hand over that blog and all the newsletters to somebody else to help create, which has been very grateful. I finally made the jump to do an official CRM, client retention management tool. I don't know if people, right? September and picked the wrong one.
Well,
And now I'm switching again. But now I know the perks of having it. And I would say that if you are new in business, that it is something that doesn't need to be done till later, but do keep everything on a spreadsheet and do update it so that when you get to this point that it's available to you. But it has that in itself has taken over a lot of
hmm
automations that I used to be like, oh, someone fell off and they haven't been in for a while. And I'll be able to bing them and do that as well. Which thank God else is a good answer to your question. So then the next thing is just, yeah, is how many people can I possibly see in a day?
right.
Right. And trying to understand how to change my platform so that I can incorporate more group things is my next thing,
Mm,
but not quite there yet. I'm trying to still just get the one-on-one stuff done well. I do out in the community classes, but I don't do group things on my own
okay.
accord or having pre-made materials. That's another thing that a lot of practitioners do. As then if someone needs supplementation through one-on-one, that can also happen. But
Very
it's
cool.
all very new to me.
Yeah.
My training is in nursing, not business.
Yeah. It is to some people, and when you jump into the world of CRM, it can be scary, which is that's one of the things that we offer as CRM automations because some people just don't have the bandwidth to do it themselves, and it's important to have a strong nurture campaign on the back end to make sure that people move along in the funnel and they get to see the success that they want to see and you want to see them have. Definitely a very CRM is a very helpful tool. I think it's a necessity in any coaching program or practitioner clinic. So, and there's, you touched on it's truth. There's a balance between scaling and maintaining the experience. And it sounds like you're doing a great job of that. And bringing on people at the right time is also super important. What has been the most effective for you in attracting the right fit clients?
Making a list, just like your mom told you to do.
Just like Mama said.
Taking a pen to paper and writing down exactly what I want my ideal client to be. And you know what? That has morphed over the years.
Hmm.
What an ideal client would be. At first, it was like, oh, just whatever you learned in like a small business class that you could write down. And now it's morphed into, oh, like I like to be on time. So I want clients
My
that are
clients to be
also
on
on
time.
time. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, and it's just, and that's fine. And that doesn't mean that sometimes people aren't late, but I tend to attract people who are more on time
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
people, right?
Yeah.
Or communicative at least, right?
Hmm.
And that's one of the other big ones that I had to put
Right.
down was communicative. Like, having people respond when I was like, "Hey, are your herbs working? How's your body feeling?" Instead of just them kind of disappearing into the
Yeah.
ether and not knowing what's going on. So, get these. That's I would say would be the number one thing is really understanding, and that you won't know right away. To anyone who's starting a business, it's impossible to have a really fine tuned, dialed in list until you start practicing or start working your business to understand what it is that you care about.
Yeah. Good, very good point. So there's clearly a larger shift happening right now towards personalization and preventative care, which is a great thing because humans are so complex and there are so many different elements that go into each individual, hence individuals. With that in mind, what do you see changing in the next 3 to 5 years in health in the entire health and wellness space? And what do you think practitioners should prepare for?
Wow, that's a really big question. So the second half is what they should do to prepare for it. And what was the first one? The first half of the
What
question.
what do you see changing? What do you see
So
changing
I
in the
think
next 3 to 5 years? And then
yes.
what should practitioners prepare for?
So I believe that people are going to start investing in themselves a lot more than they did. I think for two reasons. I think one is that people see the value in it now. Post COVID, people really see the value. And not only that, but people realize that when they start putting money into things like this, they don't have to shop as much. They don't have to drink as much. They don't eat out as much. They don't, there's all these things that they don't buy
Right.
that they actually end up saving money and they feel better and they have more energy and they are living longer. All of that is happening at the same time. And the second thing is that the systems that we have are, I don't know how well they're going to last through some of these things
Right.
that we are politically going through. I think there's going to be some breaks in these structures of how people are used to accessing their health care. They may not be, maybe the deductibles are going to be much higher. Maybe people are not going to be able to afford insurance premiums. I think people who are, I'm not sure. These are just my hypotheses, and I can always
Yeah.
be wrong. But I just am curious how that these systems are going to be affected long term by some of these very short-sighted decisions that are being made at this moment. Practitioners, the best thing that we can do to prepare for this is to make us our one Ayurveda client is called Rogi, right?
Hmm.
Because we can't use the word patient, right? So we make yourself your number one Rogi. Make you are your first person you have to work on. And if you are making that your light, that if you continuously are showing up and doing your own medicine, I think the rest will follow. But it's like when you fall off that bandwagon,
Yeah.
it just kinda goes all topsy-turvy. So the best way to prepare is to just keep continually to be centered in yourself and making sure that you're doing the right things for yourself, and then naturally, things will evolve as well.
Awesome. Very well put. Okay, cool. So we're going to move on to the lightning round. So these are going to be quick, short answers. So, what's one myth about holistic or Ayurvedic medicine that you would eliminate?
I'm not doing a good job at lightning round right now.
You don't have to, we're good on time. So, you can take a little, I'll let you take a little longer.
I would say the thing that comes to mind is it's more of like a little bit of a pet peeve is that sometimes be careful of the books that you're purchasing on Ayurveda or what you're listening to based on Ayurveda, because where I go to school, we're learning directly from the Sanskrit textbooks. And therefore we're learning in Sanskrit. And then my interpretation is now the medicine that I have to give, right? Because when you interpret another language, everyone interprets it differently. There are quite a few schools that are teaching from already translated texts. And that's where you have to be careful because now you're learning off of someone else's interpretation, off of someone else's interpretation, and things are getting a little mismatched. And also, I would be weary of anything that matches diagnosis to diagnosis because that doesn't exist. Western diagnoses do not exist in the realm of Ayurveda. They're completely different. So just being aware information you are consuming in regards to Ayurveda.
That's great. Just real, even though we're in lightning round, it's not very lightning. Yeah, right. So, yeah, so something you just said, s- diagnosis to diagnosis doesn't match. Is that due to all the different elements that are taken into account in Ayurveda, or like
So, Ayurveda is diagnoses are based on nidana, on causes, and things like apatya, apatya, things that make it better or worse. And then Western diagnosis is based on symptomology.
symptoms? Which makes sense because your, where your focus goes is where your energy flows. And Western medicine is so focused on symptoms and treating symptoms and the after the fact. And you see more in Eastern and holistic practices that you're looking more at what's the root cause and preventative medicine. So
Exactly,
interesting.
because you
Okay.
can have the
Yeah.
same disease in Western side, and it could be fall into 3 different categories, and you have to figure out which one it is, and it may not actually be it's yeah, it just gets a
The
little
cause is different. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You have to address the root cause.
yes.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I'm glad I asked. Okay.
Yeah.
Next, in lightning round. Okay. What habit keeps you steady when the stakes are high?
Chanting,
Aw, nice. Okay.
chanting,
What
yeah.
gives you the most hope right now?
Just, like, seeing the joy in the people that I love's face. I feel like that is really the most uplifting thing right now.
Yeah, that is nice. Awesome. And then last one here, where can listeners follow your work? Tell us your website. Where can they learn
Yeah.
more if they want to become one of your yogis? Is that too?
Yeah, bro,
Yeah.
yeah, there you
All
go.
right.
You're a
All
quick
right. I'm
learner,
learning.
Nancy. I
You're
love
teaching me.
it. So my website is www.kreem Shakti. So KREEM, and then it's SHAKTI.com. And then that is also Kreem Shakti Ayurveda is my handle on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook underneath Kreem Shakti, and you can also find me on TikTok. I have YouTube. I have got to do some videos. It's been a few years, but I have a YouTube channel as well that has some really good basic information on your kitchen herbs and spices.
That's cool. Okay, awesome. Well, we will include those in the show notes so that all the listeners have them. So thank you, Amita, for being on the show and sharing your story, your perspective today. I really appreciate how intentional you are about both the care that you provide and the way that you've built your practice. For everyone listening, this is a great example of what it looks like to build something that is both deeply personal and scalable when it's done right. If you got value from this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone in the healthcare or wellness space. And if you want to connect with Amita, we'll have her information linked below. Innovation creates possibility, implementation turns it into growth. And we will see you on the next episode of the Practice Pulse.